And this is, in my humble opinion, perhaps the greatest actual crisis of faith that we can deal with, inshallah.
Purely academically speaking, there are three primary opinions that are found within scholarly circles that claim to be Sunni. Okay, three primary opinions amongst groups of ulama, and they all claim that they are Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. The first opinion, the second opinion, which is now the opinion that I follow. The second opinion, and now is the opinion that very staunchly an opinion too. The third opinion, which is there, and factually speaking, one finds it amongst scholars from around 700, 600 years ago. It's nothing that's, we cannot say that this is a new opinion. I have done an extensive amount of research in this, and you will actually find...
the entire university, of all of the applications that came in, they had to give a special exam. Alhamdulillah, this is the first time I'm saying this, but everybody knows who was there. I had the highest score in the entire university. No exceptions amongst the Saudis, Kuwaitis, Khadijis, everybody. The number one score from an American student to get applied, and the only one that got an A in the introduction exam, or what do you call it, the admittance exam, So to apply to the masters was very difficult back then. So an American, Hafidh al-Quran, with ijazat al-Quran and Hadith, with an A from the College of Hadith, and the A and the only A from the admittance exam, this is a no-brainer, right? I mean, obviously, you need a Westerner.
But if you ask me, what is my humble opinion? But it is also my position that it is my opinion based on the evidence. And it's about time that I issued my own, explanation about my own trajectory in the last few years. I do believe it is time for an explanation for my own students. I feel that I owe it to my students who are genuinely wondering why I have moved on from a theology that I myself introduced them to.
Got it, inshallah. Questions regarding parallels, things that are consistent here and there between Muslim, non-Muslim, Western society, Middle Eastern society, etc., such as scholarships or scholarship, levels of learning, levels of studying, what should and shouldn't be taught and discussed, so on and so forth. Is that consistent in Islam? There's no doubt about that. But the answer is a yes and a no answer. The parallel is that, yes, and we're going to try to be brief in the answers because there are a lot of questions. We don't want to get into no deep discussions. Is that from the etiquette of the caller to Allah, the manners that you're supposed to learn and implement is knowing how to speak to people, knowing who you're talking to, knowing who your audience is. So there's certain things that are not to be brought up and not to be mentioned. Not because you're hoarding knowledge, but it's just going to be a fitna if you discuss this. Their minds can't even reach the understanding. They can't even get the problem, let alone get the answer, let alone get out of the problem. I may mention a doubtful issue to you, and I mention it in such a strong way, you're convinced by the doubt. And I explain the answer and the rebuttal of it, but it was you didn't even come out of the tunnel, right? So the scholar, one who's supposed to be academic, one who's a preacher, a priest, a da'iyah, calling to Allah, he's supposed to know how to navigate through his audience. This is an unsuitable topic for these people. It's going to cause chaos. They're going to be confused. This topic is very appropriate for them, so on and so forth. So that's first and foremost. So there are parallels with regards to that. Yes, there's a time for academic discussions. There's a time for scholastic discussions. There's a time for in-depth discussions, differences of opinions, different peculiar, weird views that aren't mainstream. Yes, there's a time and a place for that. Books, different societies for that type of scholastic behavior. And other times in which the average Muslim is barely praying 5 times a day. They barely made Hajj. They barely know the basis of ghusl, as we've just seen. Everyone understand this? So it doesn't make no sense for me to try to come and drop a meteorite or an asteroid from outer space, and my people barely got the basic ABCs. That's just foolishness. So that's first and foremost. But the no part is that everything is accessible. It's the internet. Everything is open. So I may have a long, deep, philosophical, scholastic debate that I didn't make for you to watch. I didn't make this for you. I didn't make this for this layman person. But you happen to watch the video and listen to it. Or somebody cut and paste the clip, made a snippet from it and posted it. That's a problem. So I think a solution to this problem, and Allah knows best, and I'm sure many brothers have done this and do this, is that you should make a disclaimer in the beginning or the middle or the end of the video. Look guys, this lecture is not for layman people. This lecture is not for such and such people. But if you make that disclaimer, in most cases it's going to backfire. The moment you say it's not for every person, they're going to what? Oh man, let me check it out. Got to be something good. Got to be juicy. Got to be nice. Got to be real controversial. Something really, you know. And that's the nature of videos. So an article is one thing. A scholastic summit is what? One thing. A book is one thing. A society of scholars, we all differ. Let's sit and talk. Versus this is a public video for everybody, your mama, my mama, and everybody to watch and see and comment on. That's what? It's a problem. And so, I mean, it's unfortunate. At the end of the day, calling upon other than Allah, asking for something that only Allah can do is shirk akbar. Without any question. And if you use differences of opinion and different scholars have different views, if that is your level, if that's your yardstick, your criterion for something being right or wrong, then there's scholars who said something about everything. There are different views and opinions on all types of stuff that you wouldn't even think about. Just because it's difference of opinion doesn't hold no scholastic weight. Scholastic weight, force is based off of proof and evidence, and based off of who said it. What is the quality of those scholars, and what generation did it take place? A perfect example of this is just one example, a simple example. The beard, shaving the beard, cutting the beard. This is just an example, I said. So people, they say, oh, different madhabs say you can cut the beard. Some scholars say it's only recommended, it's not haram, etc., etc., etc. The question is, when did this difference of opinion even come about? The early first three generations, did they differ over it? The four imams, did they differ over it? The fourth, or did it come in the 7th century, the 8th century, when things were very, very different for the scholars and the layman Muslims? So just because it's a different view or a different opinion, that doesn't mean that it is valid. Secondly it doesn't mean that it's something that you should mention and bring up in front of every Tom, Dick, and Harry, because it will cause confusion. And the companions and the pious predecessors, they warned against this. They spoke about this. Speak the language of the people. إِنَّكَ لَن تُحَدِّثَ قَوْمًا حَدِيثًا لَمْ تَبْلُغْهُ عُقُولُهُمْ إِلَّا لِكَانَتْ لِبَعْضِهِمْ فِيهِ فِتْنَةً أو كما قالوا. Whenever you speak about a thing that doesn't reach the people's minds, it's going to cause problems for them. It's going to cause problems for them. All right? So what's important is that is a balance. There's a time and a place, and there's a way. And that's all called hikmah, wisdom. Knowing what to say, when to say, and how to say it. I'm not going to talk about this in front of these people because that's going to cause chaos. Even though, for argument's sake, there's scholars who said it before me. And that's another problem. Now things become uglier as when people refute a speaker online and they say he said this, he held this view, and then the speaker is going to say, well, I didn't make up the view. There's scholars who came hundreds of years before me who said that. It doesn't mean that it's valid, as we just explained. It doesn't mean that it's right. But don't make me like the only person who just said it out of thin air. Do you get it? So all of these different details, when not, how not, that is all the job and the responsibility of the scholar, who is supposed to be hakim. He's supposed to be wise. And the job of the layman, who's supposed to know his or her limits. I have no business watching this lecture, this juicy 3-hour lecture. And I don't have that zeal to study about wudu and seerah and basic tafsir. Ask me a basic question about juz amma, I say, I don't know. Why not? You don't have no time to study juz amma? I'm working. I'm tired. I'm a layman Muslim. I don't understand Arabic. They have a million excuses not to learn the basics, not to be on their levels. But a juicy 3-hour debate, argument, refutation, you'll find them what? Right into it. Juicy steak. Cut it open. Let the juice come out of the steak. But the basic, simple thing, oh no, I really don't like red meat. I'm not a red meat eater. Steak is expensive. I can't afford this ribeye steak. I have to get such and such meat, ground beef, because. But let it be about talking about somebody, refuting someone, right or wrong. You'll find them connoisseurs of steak, and there's a problem. So everyone has a responsibility. The scholar has a what? A responsibility, knowing what not to say, when not to say it, in front of. And the layman Muslim also has a what? A responsibility. But of course, YouTube and the internet, class. There's no limit. Huh? Walaikum salam. You understand? And it's very dangerous. And a lot of confusion has been spread because of this. May Allah help us all to do our duties. You do your job, I do my job. You know, it's not easy. And Allah knows best.